What's up, y'all? This is John from the One Carolina Show. You'll have to forgive me if you hear some background noise here as I record this video, but I felt like I wanted to get out today into the elements and try to enjoy some of this beautiful sunshine that we can see is starting to make its way down into the beautiful Carolinas amid the putrid situation that we've seen from the Carolina Panthers as of late. And as I detail in my video, is Bryce Young an all-time bust? Now, first of all, I want to start by saying this. There's a few people that I have to make some amends to, if you will. A few of my contemporaries, guys like Twan Don, guys like Cody from C3, and many others, even guys that have been on my own panel, good friends of mine and everything like that, that, you know, I did kind of go hard for Bryce, and that still hasn't necessarily changed much. But I said I would be insufferable on this app if he turned out to, be doing really well. And I'll flip it around and say, you know what? Hey, I'll take the lumps considering how putrid the play has been as of late. But what I will say is this at the same time. I'm not trying to cape for Bryce. I'm not trying to change my position to suggest that he's a, good quarterback somewhere, a diamond in the rough, if you will, if they kind of figure out things. But I would caution this. I would caution you to look around the league and see what's happening right now in comparison to what happened at Carolina with these same people, right? I would caution you to look around the league and see what Baker Mayfield is doing in Tampa, or look around the league and see what guys like Sam Darnold's doing in Minnesota. Many other players who have gone on. Bradley Bozeman had a really good game today against us, and that was another guy that was written off. And the list goes on and on. I don't know exactly what Brian Burns is doing in New York. Hadn't really paid much attention to that. But the point is, for the quarterback play itself, we have seen quarterbacks have much more success outside of this organization than we have the ones that have been here, right? Now, Bryce looks obviously the worst of all of them at this point. I think that's, pretty easy to surmise. But at the same time, you wonder, at what point do we become more patient with organizational structure and allow things to kind of play themselves out? I don't know what Dave Canales is going to be as a play caller. I have questions about things. I have questions why I see David Moore lined up on what looked like a curl towards the end of the game and not Xavier Legette in that opportunity. Xavier Legette seems to be the most athletic receiver that we have, creates the most separation. So why wouldn't you see him in that opportunity? But I digress. The point is that Bryce looks absolutely awful. But I also think two things can be true. I think he can look awful, and this situation could be completely new for him, terminology, learning cohesiveness with your offensive pieces, and this was, like I said, I know this is going to sound like I'm making excuses. I get it, right? But more than I want to see Bryce successful, and yeah, I cape for Bryce, in the pre-draft process. I like CJ Stroud a lot, and if you go back and check my old content, you'll see that. But as much as I'm caping for Bryce, I just want to see a Panthers quarterback have success, because that's going to in turn into this team having success. And I care more about that than I do anything else, right? I don't think Bryce Young's an all-time bust. As a matter of fact, I think that Bryce Young could potentially be one of those guys where it takes him a few years to figure some things out, recognizing that there are certain things that I'm going to have to do in order to be successful. It may even be best for Bryce Young to, like when I advocated for him to potentially sit on the bench. This was something that I tweeted earlier today, right? Or, for him losing the locker room could be a huge, thing for him and a big problem for him, by the way, right? My advocation of Bryce Young sitting on the bench is not so much to try to kill his confidence or to create an opportunity for the Panthers to win. I mean, obviously that would be one reason. It's more for him to see what it takes to be a professional in this league, how to answer questions in this league, how to, there may be things that he sees from Andy Dalton that he could put in his arsenal and say, you know what, I'm going to add that to what I do. But then he could see another thing and say, I'm going to completely take that away from what I do, right? And I'm going to do this way. But at least it would offer an opportunity to do a few things. It would create some confidence, I believe, inside the locker room for guys that may need an opportunity with a guy like Andy Dalton to gain their footing. Guys like Xavier Legette. You would find out real fast if a Deontay Johnson guy is really a good fit for this team. When you have someone that could probably get him the ball in succession a little bit more. You could also find out if indeed true Bryce Young is not really the guy for this team, because I saw a stat somewhere, and you guys will have to correct me on this, that Baker Mayfield led the league last year with deep targets of like 73 over all quarterbacks, right? So that may be a portion of Dave Canales' offense that he's not necessarily able to utilize because maybe Bryce isn't a guy that throws deep, and then you have to make adjustments to what his game is ultimately, right? But just gauging off of what I saw last year, I just have a hard time believing. And look, I'm not going to try to keep explaining myself for what I feel about Bryce Young, because I don't feel like I'm some Bryce Young apologist or anything like that. What I do feel like is, like I said, I want to see the kid be successful. No different than I wanted to see Darnold be successful here, Baker Mayfield, and many others, right? But it's just hard for me to believe that he's this bad. I think it's more a confidence issue. I think it's more learning a new offense, maybe having to deal with some different personalities than you dealt with before on the team. And in the grand scheme of things, when you've lost 7 consecutive seasons, to most of us fans, none of that matters. But I do think it's something important to at least having context to say there's got to be something more here. It can't just be he's this bad. He didn't look this bad last year. And one of those things, mind you, is continuity. I know that the coaching was in flux and things like that, right? But similar to what we saw with the Carolina Panthers when we went 7-10 and potentially almost made a playoff run at the end of the season after playing Tampa and losing, it probably would have done a lot of good for this fan base and more for this team for us to have continuity, keeping someone like Steve Wilks as the head coach. Now, obviously, we can't go back and change that. That is what it is. But the point is like you move on from Frank Reich so soon. Did it get so bad between you guys that, like at the, with Tepper or Nicole Tepper, whoever, that you just decided, like, what, I don't want this guy as my head coach because he's not going to ever hear anything I have to say? Or was it more just because of, performance? Because if it was performance-based, could we not take a few moments of what we saw from Bryce Young early in the season and a couple of moments from the season, like, one of the wins that we had obviously was against the Texans. Could you not take that and say, okay, we can find something here, right? There's something, like, think about the play that Bryce Young made to Adam Thielen on the boundary. Chuba Hubbard gets absolutely blown up. He kind of spins around, throws the ball like almost immediately. Adam Thielen makes a play on the ball, great lead. Then he goes and throws the touchdown to Tommy Tremble right after that. This is in the Texans game last year, right? Or the drive against Atlanta, or the game against Green Bay, right? Or the beginning of the game against Miami. These are things that you look at, and if you're me, you say like, okay, I could see where this kid could be really good. And, eventually great, possibly, But when you see that and that continuity is taken away and you have to learn a whole new offense and, all this stuff continues to change, what we do know about Bryce is this. I don't see Bryce as being a force multiplier. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine about this, and I don't see Bryce as being a guy that can, in a Cam Newton fashion, galvanize people, get people excited. I see him as a guy that you drop in. He's a tactician. He's able to be accurate, and you lean on other guys to be that. In the NFL, that's a little more difficult than what he did when he was at Bama because Saban was that guy, right? And the guys that he surrounded himself with, Bill O'Brien being his offensive coordinator, different personalities like Jameson Williams, John Mechie, and others, Jahmyr Gibbs, people like that, right? So he had other personalities that he could lean on. In this situation, we kind of need Bryce to be more than what he's probably capable of being because of just how horrible this organization is and how much in disarray we are. And we need those force multipliers added to this team to be able to increase the productivity from the people that are surrounding him. But unfortunately, he can't be that. So then what do you do? And it leaves me in one of those kind of weird, predicaments where on one hand, I'm thinking maybe you should bench him. Maybe you should bench him, not for the sake of, saying like we're writing it off and we're done with him. I know that's what many people's, and honestly, and I'm sure that there'll be people that'll push back in the comments, and that's fine. I'm okay with that because you're rightfully so to do that as being a fan. But I do think that if you suggest to bench him for the sake of doing rid of him, it's more your defeat of seeing 7 long seasons of just putrid, Carolina Panther football play than it is about what Bryce can be long-term anyway, right? But I think you bench him for the sake of just really helping this kid out. People say it would kill his confidence. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll give him an opportunity to really learn and gain some momentum from a team that could start to become and gel and find out who they are. But if you're in this kind of quarterback disarray, you're never going to find that out. And I know that people say, oh man, you need reps. You need reps. I agree, right? But some of the greatest that we've seen in this league have sat down and not had reps right away. One of them is Patrick Mahomes. Another one is Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady behind Bledsoe. There's been many opportunities of people in this league that have gone on to have great careers that sat down for a while. There have been guys who have been active and were sat down. Guys like John Elway sat down in his career, right? Early on. And it didn't kill his confidence. So my thing is, I don't think Bryce is at all-time bust level yet. I think it's still a little bit too early to tell that, but it looks bad. And you do wonder, are we just going to be the conveyor belt? Are we going to be that team like the Browns where a fan is wearing a jersey with every quarterback we've had over the last 7, 8, 9 years taped to the back of it, and we never truly find a guy because we don't give anything time to gel. We don't give anything time to develop, right? And it's not just the quarterback position. It's many other positions. You know, we ran off, a running back that, in Foreman that had a really great showing in the last, part of that season, right? Now, granted, I don't think he's really landed on his feet and become what he became here in Carolina, but still, if you give that guy an opportunity, continue to run the ball the way you are, you set up a young quarterback to come in and have some success. But if we keep going the way we're going right now, it doesn't matter where Bryce Young is an all-time bust or not. This is going to be the worst franchise in the history of the National Football League. And I would hope, well, I know that's a bit of hyperbole. Maybe not the worst ever, but one of the worst. But let me know what you think below, guys. Either way, man, I really hope this kid turns it around, for the sake of this team. Plus, Bryce seems like a good dude, just hate to see him lose his confidence like this, but I'm riding till the wheels fall off. Not running from none of my previous posts or none of my, previous takes or anything like that. I'm okay with being wrong. I'll admit at this point right now, as it stands today, yes, I was dead wrong, and I'm okay with that. But either way, man, I appreciate y'all for stopping by. Make sure to like content, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss a video. This is John from the North Carolina Show. Keep pounding.